When development started on the original Kingdom Hearts, there were numerous discussions between Disney and Square about who the main protagonist should be. In the initial sense, both parties agreed that whoever was in that lead position should be a well-known Disney character, as they would be able to draw interest, shoulder the burden of being the figurehead of what promised to be an exciting new venture, and would make the game appealing on a global scale. It saw Disney, as a collective, recommend Donald Duck, while Square, as a collective, had a preference for Mickey Mouse. But Tetsuya Nomura, who had been assigned as the director of Kingdom Hearts, disagreed with both organisations. He felt that using an existing character would undermine the story they wanted to tell, and instead pitched the idea of using a human protagonist instead. And to ensure his decision would be taken with full consideration, Nomura created a complete project plan of the game, featuring many of the potential characters without focusing on any one in particular. With lots of mediation between both of the parties, Nomura managed to convince them that his vision had merit, and Sora, a 14-year-old human boy, was created to serve as the main protagonist of Kingdom Hearts. As a compromise, his outfit would then be inspired by Mickey Mouse, and he would brandish a large key. Donald Duck was then included as a permanent party member who, alongside Goofy, would guide Sora on his long journey, and Mickey Mouse would be given a reduced role, being alluded to throughout the story, but only appearing as a one-time cameo at the end of the first game. The rest, as they say, is history. Since his debut in 2002, Sora has gone on to become one of gaming's most lovable and iconic protagonists. And over the years, many points of interest have been uncovered involving his creation, backstory, and the numerous changes that we have seen over time. As with our Final Fantasy content, today we're going to be running through some of these in granular detail. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more high quality Kingdom Hearts content, and from an unorthodox design that would have seen Sora take on a rather different form through to Nomura's ever-changing attitude towards his protagonist, let's run through some facts that you probably didn't know about Sora. Outside of Kairi's grandmother, who appeared as a memory in the original Kingdom Hearts and then again in Birth by Sleep, and Brain from Union Cross, who has recently been confirmed as an ancestor of Master Eraqus, rarely in Kingdom Hearts are family members ever brought into the spotlight. The focus is instead placed on the here and now, and how everyone in the present connects to one another. That's very much the case with Sora, as he has ties to numerous characters who have been introduced throughout the years, but he also does have parents that are known about within the game's lore, and although we've never actually got to see Sora's parents, they have at least been referenced a number of times throughout the franchise. The first time we ever heard of Sora's parents was in a cutscene called The Keyblade. After seeing the oncoming storm, Sora snuck out of his home to check on the raft, and we heard the voice of Sora's mother, which was provided by Kath Soucie, yelling from downstairs that dinner was ready. As a side note, Soucie also voiced Sally and Shock from the Nightmare Before Christmas world. Not long after Sora had snuck out, his parents were mentioned again. Right before Riku disappeared from Destiny Island, he said, "Once we set through, we might not be able to come back. We may never see our parents again. There's no turning back." Sora's parents were then mentioned again in Kingdom Hearts' Chain of Memories. When Sora reminisced on his false memories of Naminé's early disappearance, he said, "I think our parents knew the reason. They might have even tried to explain it to me." The next and final time Sora's parents have been mentioned came in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. This time, it was in relation to Sora's dad, and Riku was again the source. During Terra's visit to Destiny Island, he met with a young Riku. When Terra asked what they were doing on the island, Riku said that his friend's dad had brought them there to play. It's clear, owing to their inclusion, that the writers wanted to make Sora feel more relatable by making reference to his parents, but it's always remained a mystery how they actually fit into the wider narrative. It's also unknown whether they will ever appear in a full capacity, but knowing this series, anything is possible. Much like parents in Kingdom Hearts, not much is known about any of the original characters' birthdays either. And this is a very curious point, because within the Final Fantasy franchise, almost every character is given a specific birthday, with gender, race, height, weight, eye colour, hair colour, and even blood type openly disclosed. In Kingdom Hearts, Almost none of this is disclosed, at least in an official capacity, but in 2017, one aspect of this changed. During a collaborative, celebratory event with the Square Enix Cafe, which was being hosted in Osaka to celebrate the 15th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts, Nomura was the guest of honor. And to make sure his adoring audience left enlightened, Nomura decided to reveal some new information about the future of the series, as well as some unknown facts about the characters we've come to know and love, including the reveal of Sora's birthday. It saw Nomura speak about how the story of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross would play out, and he also revealed that although Sora had no specifically defined date of birth within the lore of Kingdom Hearts, he believes that Sora's birthday would have been when he debuted for Japanese audiences. That would make Sora's date of birth the 28th of March, as the original game was released on that date back in 2002, and his reasoning for this was that many classic Disney characters also have their birthdays determined by when they first debuted on screens. For example, Mickey and Minnie Mouse's birthdays are considered to be on November 18th, which is the date of their screen debut in Steamboat Willie. After convincing his superiors at Square and the representatives of Disney that Sora should be the main character of Kingdom Hearts, the next challenge faced by Nomura was to come up with a design that everyone could agree on. As with any design process, it saw many different iterations of Sora created as they looked to find that one design that would rule them all. Throughout this process, there were some quite radical shifts in design, but according to Tomohiro Tayano, who served as the character modeling director on Kingdom Hearts, after an extensive review, they managed to settle on a base design. Tayano revealed when speaking to the Kingdom Hearts Ultimania guidebook that this design was then expanded upon to create 6 unique variations, each looking to push Sora in a specific direction by accentuating certain aspects. For example, in one of these early designs, Sora was more cat-like in appearance, with lion claws, a collar, a tail, a crown, and most interestingly enough, a chainsaw instead of the Kingdom Key that featured a lion emblem on the end. When Nomura revealed these early character concepts of Kingdom Hearts to Disney, the entire room was in dead silence at the sight of the chainsaw. Nomura took this silence as a message that this particular iteration wouldn't work out. Taking the previous reactions into consideration, the next iteration saw the rather extreme chainsaw turned into what has now become known as the Kingdom Key. Sora was also given human hands, much bigger gloves, and the lion emblem was replaced by a Mickey emblem. However, even though it was an improvement, the internal staff at Square had some critiques of their own with this version. There were those who felt that Sora's lion-like appearance made him too similar to Zidane Tribal, the main protagonist of Final Fantasy IX. Both designs shared animalistic features, such as fur and a tail, and so Nomura decided to remove the lion motif altogether and come up with a completely human design. And in this regard, Nomura played with the Disney side of Kingdom Hearts, giving Sora cartoonishly large gloves and shoes, with the gloves being made white to pay tribute to the many classic cartoon characters who had come before. Soon after, Nomura locked down the final design for Sora, drawing on elements from many of the previous designs. In addition to incorporating staff and management feedback, the Sora we know today had evolved from the lion with a chainsaw to a human Disney character with a keyblade. Sticking with the theme of Sora's design, during Square Enix Presents at E3 2015, a brand new trailer was shown for the highly anticipated Kingdom Hearts 3. And it was during this trailer that we learnt about the inclusion of a world based on the 2010 Disney animated film Tangled, as well as what Sora would look like in the third main numbered installment. Over the years, Sora has had many different outfits and form changes, and his most recent iteration in Kingdom Hearts 3 took inspiration from a multitude of different sources. In the build-up to the game's release, Nomura revealed that it was a very difficult decision for him to decide whether or not to give Sora a redesign. He understood that Sora's outfit from Kingdom Hearts 2 was very popular, but he also considered that this was the first numbered title in almost a decade. When Nomura brought up the prospect of redesigning Sora to the Kingdom Hearts 3 development team, they ultimately agreed and encouraged Nomura to create a fresh new outfit. And so, he tried his best to create something that would both pay homage to his previous iterations while still being both modern and stylish. The result was a mixture of two of Sora's previous designs, his iconic Kingdom Hearts 2 outfit and his outfit from Dream Drop Distance. The red, black and grey colour palette carried over from Dream Drop Distance, while the overall look was heavily influenced by his appearance in Kingdom Hearts 2. It was also designed to be sleeker and less baggy to further reflect his more active combat style in Kingdom Hearts 3. This also meant that Sora's hair was muted to become less spiky, and it created a much more mature look for Sora moving forward with the series. Also revealed in the Kingdom Hearts Ultimania guidebook were some curious tidbits relating to animations, specifically animations that were produced but didn't ever make it into the final product. The original Kingdom Hearts featured a variety of gameplay mechanics that ranged from real-time action combat through to an on-rails space shooter segment, and alongside all of these different aspects were thousands upon thousands of different animations produced by an extensive team of specialists. According to an interview with the game's animation director, Tatsuya Kando, there were a little less than 8,000 different animations produced for the game, although many ended up never being used. In that regard, Kando revealed that those cut animations became known as the animations of the heart, as they were created with a lot of love, but as they were never used, the only place they could be found was in the hearts of the animators themselves. In terms of a specific animation that Kando had fond memories of, well, during the Destiny Island segment, Kando revealed that animations were created so that Sora would have been able to pick up coconuts and throw them during his play fight against Riku. Not much is known as to why this was cut from the game, but we can speculate that it was due to its limited use outside of Destiny Islands. When Kingdom Hearts 2 was released in Japan in 2005, the series saw many improvements to gameplay as a whole. It became a much faster paced game, with numerous tweaks and enhancements made to combat, including an overhaul of the magic system, the ability to recover while in the air, and the new drive form system. But perhaps one of the most interesting gameplay additions was introduced thanks to Sora's new outfit, the new ability to dual-wield keyblades for a limited time. This was achieved in gameplay through the Sync Blade ability, which could only be utilised while in a drive form. In regards to the story, there was a concrete reason as to why Sora could dual-wield in the first place, but that detail wouldn't be revealed until 5 years later. With the release of Birth by Sleep in 2010, fans of the original series who had been waiting to understand the meaning behind the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix finally got some answers. The story of Ventus began with his tutelage under Master Xehanort. Noticing that Ventus was less adequate at defending himself against the Heartless, Xehanort extracted all of the darkness from his heart, an act that created Vanitas. Ventus, now left with a fractured and incomplete heart, assumed a comatose state, and Master Xehanort took him to Destiny Islands where he could live his final moments in peace. However, inside Ventus' Station of Awakening, the heart of a newborn Sora made its way to help repair it, linking the two together and giving Ventus the strength to temporarily go on. At the conclusion of Birth by Sleep, Ventus sacrificed himself in a metaphysical battle against Vanitas so that the Keyblade could not be forged and abused under Master Xehanort's control. This sacrifice resulted in Ventus' heart exiting his own body, leaving him in a similar comatose state as in the beginning. But just because his heart was away from his body, that did not mean it was lost. It instead found its way back to Sora, and there it slept until the day it could be fully restored and reunited with its body. Since Sora had two hearts within him all along, he carried with him the capacity to call forth two Keyblades at once, one belonging to him and the other belonging to Ventus. And with that, we arrive at our final fact, which relates to how Nomura's attitude towards Sora has changed over time. As we discussed during the introduction of this video, when Kingdom Hearts was being created, Nomura fought for the inclusion of Sora, and because of this, he had a close connection with the character. This close connection continued for many years, and when Nomura was speaking to official PlayStation magazine ahead of the release of Kingdom Hearts 2, he revealed that at that time, Sora was his favourite character. And he wasn't just talking about the Kingdom Hearts franchise, he meant that out of all the characters he had worked on during his time at Square and then Square Enix, which included the likes of Cloud Strife, Squall Leonhart and Auron, Sora was his favourite. But as Nomura started to work on Kingdom Hearts 3, he realised his feelings towards Sora had changed. When speaking with The Verge during an interview conducted at E3 2018, this led to Nomura saying that he no longer had any sympathy for Sora, and he felt no empathy in spite of the trials and tribulations he had gone through. Instead, Nomura said, "I think I'm closer to those characters like Xehanort and Ansem, so Sora is like my enemy. How I always think of him is I would unleash my attacks on him, and then I draw him in a way that I think he will be able to make a comeback at me. In that sense, I really think that Sora is just like an opposite personality character to who I am. it represented an interesting twist, and it no doubt had an interesting impact on the way the Xehanort saga ended up concluding for both Xehanort and Sora. And with that, I think we're done. They were 7 facts about Sora that we feel you probably didn't know, and as always, there were a load of little bonus facts thrown in for good measure. Nonetheless, I'm pretty sure there were some amongst you who still knew them all. Let us know in the comments below which you found to be the most interesting, and of course, if you enjoyed the video, please do hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Alright guys, this is Daryl signing out. I hope to see you all again soon for more Kingdom Hearts goodness.